This is going to be a video about the Thailand King 5 and King 4 bahts, mostly King 5. The bahts are the silver coins that represent each one the currency of Thailand, or at this time Siam, about 120 and 160 years ago, right in there. So from 1860, the first flat coin-shaped coins of that kingdom of King 4, Rama 4, Mangkut, the guy from the King and I story, and he's also numismatically significant, besides the fact that he transitioned Siam to making flat coin-shaped coins from these, called bullet money, which is what they've been using for about 400 or more years before that. He imported a mint from England, I believe. Started making those. But he's also numismatically significant because his dad, Rama III, or King III, had been gifted a set of United States proof coins by President Andrew Jackson in, I believe, 1836, and that included a proof gold $2.50 coin and a proof gold $5 coin. It had an 1804 silver dollar, at least that was the date on it, known now as the King of U.S. coins. It's not believed to have actually been struck in 1804. But anyway, so Rama III got those as part of a trade deal, which actually is the longest extant trade deal between the United States and any Southeast Asian country. Still in effect. The Treaty of Amity between Siam and the United States. So then King 4, the guy who struck these, which are the first flat coin-shaped coins for Siam, he had a tutor for his kids, including Rama V, the fifth king, who was the son of Rama IV, and that tutor was Anna, an English woman, and he re-gifted that proof set to her, and it was in her family from the mid-1800s until I think the 1960s, when her family consigned it to auction, and it's been getting sold in auctions ever since. And now it's been sold a few times in the last 20 or 30 years. Just goes up millions of dollars each time. So there's that. So these are little bullet monies, or whatever you want to call them. They're all about 0.9 silver, so what we'd call a coin silver, consistent with the world standard. These have the same weight of 1 baht as a baht coin, so they just changed from making this shape to what we would call a coin, and that weight is more than a United States $half actual silver weight. It's like 16 or 15 point something grams of 0.9 silver. So here you have this circle shape with like the things coming out of it that represents, that's called a chakri. That's the name of the dynasty, kings 1 through, currently they're on number 10 now, and it represents a weapon, like a throwing star from that time, from that area of the world. On the back of the coin, I call these wedding cakes, but I hope that's not disrespectful. That's not what they are. This whole configuration is, again, it's not called a logo, but we would call it the logo or the arms of this king, Rama IV. And he didn't want his face on the coins because he didn't want schmucks like me handling his face. He was a king. And they still take the monarchy pretty seriously over there. So here I've got nice graded examples of the Rama V baht, which is what I pretty much got the most of here. I've been trying to just get a big pile of these and right now I got 19, so I'll need one more to get 20 to get a roll. And these are fun for jangling around and handling and hearing a nice sound and imagining you're in old Siam doing business on Yaorat Road, where I've talked about in a previous video. When you go to Thailand now, you go to the omnipresent gold shops that are everywhere. You're going to find that the gold shops and all the gold in Thailand sell gold as baht, gold baht. That's the measure of gold, and a gold baht is 0.965 fine. So it's not 999, it's 965, basically 23 karat, and it's highly regulated. You can trust it. If you go into those red, with the Chinese letters on it looking gold shops, they're in grocery stores, they're all over the place, you're going to find that it's trustworthy. I've actually had some tested. It's 965. There's a tiny bit of variation around it. It's mostly silver making up the other 3.5%. A little bit of copper, but mostly silver. And they sell chains, they sell bars, they sell little trinkets and all that, earrings, whatever. But it's basically sold by weight. So there's not stones in it. There's not enamel usually on it. It's just gold. And people are buying and selling gold in there. Regular people. Motorcycle taxi guys. People who work at the local bank. Gold is part of what they're into. So anyway, why I mention that is the gold baht in Thailand today weighs the same as this. And this is what the gold baht comes from. The currency, the baht right now, which is a fiat currency, if you go to Thailand and convert your US dollars into baht, is a different baht. So you got to keep that in mind. That of course comes from this, but it's of course has no metal value. And right now, one Thailand THB to USD, if you want to look it up, it's 3 pennies. 3 US pennies is 1 Thai baht. And so right now, so there's a price in Thai baht currency for a Thai baht of gold that you can always see painted on the windows of the gold shops, and you can look it up right now. Right now it's like 51,000 Thai baht currency for 1 Thai baht of gold. And 1 Thai baht of gold is less than a half ounce actual gold weight, half troy ounce. The closest approximation to it is a British sovereign's worth of, 2 British sovereigns, worth of actual gold weight. So if you get 2 British sovereigns, which are each a little less than a quarter ounce, then you'll get real close, within I think hundredths of a troy ounce of the weight of a gold baht. And the way you got the gold baht, the story that was told to me, is that in what's now called Chinatown in Bangkok, where there was tons of Chinese immigrants in the early 1900s, they were goldsmiths there, and people would come and throw one of these on their little desk, which was outside because they couldn't even afford a shop, and they would say, make me a chain the weight of this in gold, Thai gold, 965 gold. And so that became the gold baht. So anyway, these are, first of all, I think it's a great composition. This king, Rama V, Chulalongkorn, is very popular there. People will make wishes upon his statue and leave offerings of whiskey and other stuff in front of his statue and light smell sticks there. Any time of the year you go there, they take him seriously. He's sort of like a god now, or a father figure, whatever you want to call it. The king who just died a few years ago in 2016 or 17, Rama IX, who was a grandson of this king, was also exceedingly popular among most of the pop. I mean, look, there's a big controversy about that, but most people, especially older people there, and people in proximity to Bangkok, really like the monarchy, and especially King IX and some of these predecessors. So, great coin. Here, again, I'll call it the logo. I'm sure that's not the right thing to call it, but it's on the reverse of the coins. I think these coins have a lot of future potential. even if you're not connected to Thailand in any way. If you're looking for something to branch out into, because Thailand today has a growing population of middle-class people with more disposable income. They have a good, diversified economy. I think if you ask people there right now, they'd say their economy is not doing good. If you look at the SET, the Thailand Stock Exchange, it's not doing well over the last 5 years. Their currency, on the other hand, is fairly stable, especially compared to their neighbors there, like compared to Myanmar, formerly Burma, or Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam. Those currencies really suck. The baht, it's okay. Like, you know, you leave some money, substantial money, even in baht over the last 10 years, 5 years, you're not doing too bad. And, you know, you got something offshore then. Thailand is a food exporter, so they've got enough food. They've got energy there. They've got gas and oil of their own. They've got gold. They've got other minerals. And that population is historically, you know, they're interested in their own country and their culture and their history. And so all of that tending to put upward pressure, I think, on the interest in acquiring nice coins from this time period. So these coins are mostly undated. So they're usually called 1876 to 1900 when they have no date on them. I don't know if there are actually any struck in the 1870s or 80s or 90s. I would basically call them 1900 to be safe if they have no date. And no date means you'll see nothing in this little tiny margin space down here. So this one, no date. And all these that you see here, these graded examples, there you go, see 1876 to 1900. That's just what NGC, that's the typical, what they call them with no date. Now, some of them do have dates. Not this one. Not this one. Oh, by the way, this one, they're just the same, except this is a quarter baht. Also called a salung. And this is an eighth baht called a fuang or fuang. And these are undated also. If they were going to have a date, it would be in that tiny margin space there. So if they've got a date, though, they're more scarce. And then it depends on the date. There's only a few years with dates, and in the, you know, AD equivalent, those would be 1901, 1902, 03, 04, 05, 06, 07. There is an 08 coin, which is right before this king died, but it looks totally different. So you wouldn't look at the back of it, you just look at the coin, and those are very rare and expensive. I don't have any examples of that. So all these are undated examples. And you know, you'll see some themes, these things which I was calling wedding cakes. They're obviously not. Some people, stupas. You know, if you go to Thailand and you go to some of the wats, which are temples, or the palaces, there's basically remains inside these tall, pointy things, which I think are, it's not for reception, or it sort of is for reception to heaven, you know. It's not the heaven that you would think of in the Christian sense, but just, you know, look, all this Buddhism stuff, which is what they are, hard for me to explain or comprehend. Their goal, as it's been explained to me, is to achieve nothingness, which I've always thought is kind of too easy. You know, you can achieve nothingness whenever you want. And in my perspective, the goal is to put off achieving nothingness as long as possible. But what do I know? So when I'm looking at these, even at these ones that have mid-state grades, if we were to look at them closely, you'd see that they're not evenly struck. Sometimes they're off to the side. They got cuds or weird things in the rims. You know, these are all struck in Thailand at the Royal Thai Mint. They're not struck by foreign countries for them. They're not like from the Heaton Mint or something. They in-housed it. What I like to look at the most, though, is the details that you can see on the uniform. and these are often struck flat. So this, this coin, not great shape, but it actually does have well struck detail on there. And if you ever take any of these to Thailand and show them to Thai people, even Thai people with college educations and decent jobs, or Porsches, they've never seen these. They don't know they exist. And in my experience, they show some interest in seeing these and handling them. They just didn't know about it. The grasp of history of even well-educated people in Thailand, in my experience, is pretty limited. But that's matched by them having what I would consider a more fertile interest in it and curiosity than people who I meet in the U.S. who had the advantage of more of an introduction to history of the world and the U.S. So that's where I'm seeing the opportunity. Once they understand that this exists, and they like to hear about it, and well, maybe they have to hear about it if I'm around. Look, so this one's got a date, all right? So here's an example of a date. This is not an undated example. And that date, I know it's tiny, it's worn out, it's hard to see. So those are digits, those are Thai numbers down there. That's a 1, a 2. The only reason I know that is because they're all 1, 2. 120 something is all the dates. And the 120 something dates, that's RS, or Ratanakosin era. So that's basically a count of years of this dynasty, this dynasty, the Chakri dynasty, starting with King 1 and the foundation of Bangkok, and these kings as the kings of Siam in 1781. So 120 something years from 1781 is what these dates are. And what's that third number there? Is this 122 or 123 or 4? I couldn't tell you, although it's not hard to look up. Let's say it's 125, for instance. That's going to be 1906, which is a relatively common dated example. 1901 is very scarce. 1907 is scarce. 1903 is fairly common. 04 is possible to get. 5 is possible to get. 1, 2, and 7 are real tough. 3 and 6 are the easiest. And again, when I say 3 and 6 and all these numbers, I'm talking about our dates, which correspond to different 120 something RS dates. And on eBay, you'll often find these sold without the seller mentioning if it does have a date or not, because they don't know the difference, and who can blame them? So they just put 1876 to 1900. So if you happen to see a listing with a date on it, you want to grab it. So there we go, 121. And I only know that because I know that's a 1. That's always a 2. And then it's a 1 again. So 121. I believe that means it's 1902, which actually is fairly scarce. So it's in really messed up condition. Still nice in its own right. And look, see, you got the rim cuds. That's not damaged. That's just how it's struck. But I believe this is actually a scarce date, 1902. And I'll confirm that later. So based on the condition, I'm sure it's got a lot of problems. I'm not saying this is like an expensive or valuable coin, but I probably paid 30 or 40 bucks on eBay for it. And I would reckon it's worth more than that because of the date. And as I believe Napoleon said, quantity has a quality all its own. So just having a huge stack or big bunch of these, that's fun all in its own right, regardless of the quality. This one saw a lot of circulation, a lot of people handling in this guy's face, which is exactly what they didn't want. I believe there's some variations too where people look at the, I call it long tail and short tail, looking at that letter in this word. I'm not qualified to comment on that further. And here's another one with a date, different dates. We got 3 different dated ones here, and I happen to know that that's a 3, 1, 2, 3, because I remember trying to teach myself these numbers. That's easy, right? Because it looks like a 3 that just tipped over. So 123, that's 1904. Not too scarce, but again, any date on these makes them more scarce than if they don't have a date. So you see what they look like when they're all messed up. The best graded one I got here is the MS65. Not easy to get these in 64, 65. I've pretty much never seen them in 66, even at watching auctions for like 10 years. And in the 65, this was the only one I believe I've seen. I did pick it up. Doesn't really look that great. I mean, it looks nice. But I could show you some 62s in here that I got that frankly look better than this, or as good. So there's a lot to be said for how the coins are struck, quite apart from the wear they've seen. But here, you know, you can see, sure, like the head of this middle elephant here. It's not flat. The dragon thing's holding up these scepters. All the letters. Okay, so sure, that looks good. But, all right, like, look at this 61. Oh, let me take that back. Here, look at the 64. Yeah, go out on a limb. The 65, I think, all right, yeah, so he's got a little mark on his jaw there. But the detail on the uniform on the 64, hard to say, all right? But here, this one, they say 63 plus, and his uniform's totally worn down, or just didn't get struck. You know, this, whatever you call that, insignia patch there, no good. So they can call it a 63 plus, but you know, the 62s came out better than that. And here, see, he's got this gunk coming out in front of his nose. That's just how it's struck. Some die divots, I guess. Anyway. Hope you enjoyed looking at these. This, I believe, is a old Siamese beetle nut. Sterling silver container. Good to keep these in. Thanks for watching.